What if the kindest person in the room was also the most successful? Haraldur Thorleifsson built one of Iceland's leading digital agencies, then sold it to Twitter. He's worked with some of the world's biggest brands, advised governments, and launched a non-profit that's now made over 2,000 public spaces more accessible. His story went viral when he was publicly let go from Twitter, but that's just one chapter. In this conversation, Halli reflects on how personal loss, disability, and burnout shaped a worldview rooted in empathy and service. We talk about the strength it takes to stay kind, the joy of lifelong friendships, the trap of overworking, and how creative people can avoid chasing mountains they don't actually want to climb. This one's a tender one. It's honest and quietly powerful, the kind of conversation that stays with you. So thank you for joining me today, Halli. Have I got that right, Halli?
That's pretty good, yeah.
It's pretty good. Not amazing, but
Well, I've heard every possible version, and that's pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay, I'll take that. But we're going to be talking about kindness as a superpower today, which I feel has been something that's resonated throughout your career and life. Why would you say kindness is a thing that guides you?
Well, you picked the theme. I would ask you back. Why do you think kindness is a good theme for our little chat?
Well, I kind of have been reading a lot about you, and I just feel like it's a thread that runs through everything that you've done. You know, that empathy and compassion and warmth and humour. There's a humanity to everything that you do. So I just I'm curious, where does that come from? Why do you lead with that warmth?
Well, it depends on who you ask. I think there are definitely people out there who would disagree, but I think it probably comes from a few different things. I've had things go sort of wrong in my life, and I think that um, that those kinds of things, sort of pain in general, um, uh, and I lost my mom. I have a pretty aggressive disease, and other things that have happened. And I think with that, you get a shared sense of humanity, which I don't think you get when everything goes really, really well for you for a long time. And I think um, at least it's possible to go through something like that with a better understanding of our shared humanity.
Yeah, I think you probably, go through a bit of a dark side, don't you, where you think this is unfair, but
Hmm.
then you realise quite quickly if you go down that path, it can get even more ugly very quickly. So
Yeah,
it's making peace with things, isn't it? And
yeah, accepting reality, and then understanding that you're not alone, that everyone has their own thing, that everyone is going through something. Um, it might not be as dramatic as what I just uh, talked about, but it's still it's important to them, and it matters to them. And um, I think if we are able to help each other, I think it's this life is easier to get through.
was there a turning point when you said, right, I've got a choice here. I can either go down that path or I can go towards the light?
Um, I mean, it's definitely it's an internal conflict. I do get mad at my situation sometimes, and it's not a binary path. It's a choice you have to make constantly. But it is something that I went through a long period of time when I was drinking too much. I was using substances. I was very deeply depressed, and um, I think when I stopped drinking and doing that, I think that was one of the major turning points.
Mm.
But I think it's a choice you have to make every day. You there's things pop up, and you have to decide if you choose anger or peace.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, pain is a terrible thing to live with. It can make you very bitter at
Yeah.
times. I went through a nasty back injury last year and spent a lot of the time on the floor. I can
Mm.
not empathise 100% with what you've been through, but I can understand the kind of freedom that is taken away from you, and the looking out the window and being really frustrated with the situation and thinking, why
And
it's not fair.
did you get better? Are you
I'm
okay?
19 months post injury and I'm still dealing with symptoms in my leg. But yeah, I'm getting there. Hopefully, I, like you describe, I make my peace with it every morning.
Yeah.
You have a choice, don't you? You either, you might have a moment where you think, oh, I can't be bothered today. It'd be easier to drink.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely those moments, but you kind of have to keep going.
Yeah, you do. And work's a nice distraction
Hmm.
and
Work is a
positive
very good.
causes.
When I stopped drinking, that was I substituted my alcoholism with workahol.
Because you've had some successful ventures, haven't you?
I've had yes, some things I've done have worked out really well. Some things have not, but I think my you don't do baseball in in the UK, but my batting average is pretty good.
Yeah, we don't do base. I didn't realise you did baseball in
We don't,
Iceland
but I've
rather.
spent so much time in America, and I don't really watch sports. But all my sports analogies are Americanisms.
Right, okay. And before we were chatting, you were telling me that you're a big Oasis fan and you're going to Wembley.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see Oasis at Wembley. It's been almost 30 years since I saw them last live. Very happy uh, to get to see them again. I think, and going with an old friend, someone I've known since I was like 5 or 6 years old. And
Oh,
so it's going to be, I think, a pretty well. I hope so. I've followed the show so far, and everything seems to be going well.
are you going to dig out your old bucket hat?
Well, I don't think well, I'm not sure. I need to go through some old photos. I'm not sure if I had a bucket hat. I definitely had the haircut. I played guitar, and I had a guitar that I spray painted with the Union Jack
Nice.
um, to sort of copy Noel's guitar.
Was that your hero, Noel?
Yeah, the songwriter was I was more I didn't definitely didn't have the voice of Liam, so I thought uh, it's I have a better chance of copying Noel.
Our heroes, eh? Yeah. They used to live in a house, and when they were first starting out, they used to live in a house down the way of where I lived in Manchester. And it was where they took that famous photograph of
Hmm.
one of the album covers. Is it definitely maybe? It's quite interesting. And I did a
Yeah,
podcast with the chap who was basically, he did all the kind of album covers.
nice.
Really interesting. So if you want to listen to that, I think that would be
Yeah, I'll go
up
check it
your
out.
street, as they say. So did you always kind of like lead with this spirit, in all the ventures that you do? Because you've done some really wonderful things as well. You've got this amazing scheme in Iceland where you're trying to sort of make places more accessible.
Hmm. Always, no, I don't think anyone is always one thing, but there's definitely, um, I try my best, is what I will say. I try my best to understand that I have, I grew up, we didn't have much when I was a kid, and I, um, I I remember that feeling really well. I remember going to sleep hungry, and now that I've had some success and I have some money, I feel like I it is my duty to give back to the society that was able to help me get to where I am today.
Do you think everybody, every creative, has a duty to give back?
I think every human has, yeah. I think we all have. If we want to live in a society, I think if you want to go off on your own and live in the woods, um, somewhere remote, I think you can make a moral argument for that. But if you want to live in a society, I think we all have a duty to try and improve it in some way.
Yeah, it's very true. And do you feel that that gives you, that keeps you going, giving back? It's that you get out
Yeah,
of it what you put in?
yes, yes. There's definitely. I mean, uh, there is um, a when you're not feeling well, I think, and if you're always focused on yourself and how you're doing, I think that can lead to um, some dark places. But if you're able to sort of go outside yourself and um, look around and see where you can be of use, that I think is not only good for the people around you, but I think it also helps yourself. And I think purpose is the biggest thing we all need as people. And if you find a purpose, that can guide you through a lot of different scenarios.
Mm. Yeah, it's true. I run Creative Boom because I wanted to support other creatives and help them out and help them to, grow and win clients or, develop their careers, whatever that might be. It's a small purpose, but it's something I love. It keeps me happy and satisfied.
Yeah, I mean that's a wonderful purpose. I think every person is creative, but I think with the people we call creatives definitely need a lot of help.
What's your mission?
My mission, I'm not sure. I've since I mentioned purpose, I think the thing that I've been struggling with for the last year is I I ran through through a string of sort of events, some of them of my own doing, some of them pure luck. I was able to achieve most of the things that I wanted to achieve. Um, and I went through my bucket list and I'm not sure what's left.
Wow, that's amazing. What kind of things did you do?
Um, well, it started off with me, I built a digital agency and my dream there um, was much smaller than what we ended up doing.
Is this the
It
one you
grew,
sold to Twitter?
yes, ended up selling that to Twitter. It grew really fast. We did some work that I'm really, really proud of, and we had some amazing uh, both clients and employees, and that I really, really felt proud of what I built there. And it went again. It went. I kept setting new goals that I felt were. I always wanted to have a mountain to climb, and I kept building these bigger mountains, and all of them kind of came true, which was fantastic. But also, it's hard to keep your passion going in that situation.
Mm.
And so I sold it to Twitter, and then I was at Twitter for a while, and then I started doing some of these things that had been on the back burner for a while. I had wanted to give back um, to Iceland as a society, which is just the place that I was able to grow up, go to school, and become whatever it is that I am. And um, I started a few different projects to do that. Like you mentioned, there's a project called Wrap Up, which
Mm-hmm.
is um, a nonprofit that I started. We build ramps. We actually just completed the project this year. It was supposed to be we started off with 100 in downtown Reykjavik. We ended up doing almost 2,000 across the country,
Wow.
and um, and that again, that project went way beyond what I expected. We set the very audacious goal of 1,000, which I thought we wouldn't reach, but I thought it's good to have this
That's great.
very big goal. And we're starting to build, export that project to other countries. We're building in Ukraine and in Panama and a few other places.
Hopefully Manchester, where they,
Well,
by the way, they prioritize uh, what is it, profit over accessibility, because there's a lot of grade 2 listed buildings, and they're like, well,
mm, yeah.
mm,
Well, the thing with ramps, and I can we can I could talk about that for the whole podcast. But the thing with ramps, just that I want to say, is that they're cheap, they're easy to build at scale,
yeah,
and they don't break. And it's a very quick and easy fix that can completely change the lives of the people in the neighborhoods and the cities that you do it. So it's something I'm really passionate about because it's such a small thing you can do that can completely change everything for some people.
it can. You don't realize how inaccessible a city is until you know somebody who is using a wheelchair, and then
Right.
it's frankly frustrating to see the struggle they
Yes.
go through just to get from A to B.
Yes. It's all these small little things that are easy to fix. Most of them.
Yes, yes, absolutely. This season of the Creative Boom podcast is proudly sponsored by James Cropper, the last mill standing in Britain for premium coloured paper. Its new colour source range puts designers first, giving you direct access to 50 stunning shades in a range of weights and textures straight from the mill. Incredible colour, crafted in the Lake District and delivered straight to your door. Discover the paper that brings your ideas to life via paperandpackaging.jamescropper.com. Going back to your agency,
Hmm.
when you said it sort of got to a point where you weren't really enjoying it anymore, is that something that, is inevitable with any agency that a creative might build? I hear that a lot from founders. It gets to a point where you've done everything you set out to achieve, and then it's more of a grind.
It grew so fast, and it was hard to appreciate after a while how good we had it.
Mm.
Um, and I just remember in the early days when there would be, if Apple called or Nike or some big company called and or emailed and we started working with them, it would be such a rush to get to work with these companies that I'd looked up to for a long time. And the
Mm.
projects were so exciting. But then it came to a point and I realized this the last years when it didn't matter who we were working with. It didn't matter who the client was. It didn't really matter what the project was. I had a hard time getting excited about the work. And that's when I realized, and that's part of the reason, I sold. And I realized that I can't, I can't keep doing this. Although, looking back now, I think it's been 4 years, and I'm sort of in the process of restarting the agency because I really enjoy that kind of work. I really, really enjoy working um, with extremely capable people on projects that are complicated and um, can potentially touch billions of people.
Mm. So something with a bit more purpose.
Yes, yeah, I would. Yeah, I think I'm gonna build it slightly different to what I built before, but it's um, I think I didn't fully realize. I think this is a very common thing. You don't when you're in it, you don't fully appreciate what you have.
No.
It's that like that thing like nobody tells you that when you're living in the good old days.
When are the good old days?
It's right now, I think. It's that's always the case. It's you always look back on what you had and realize that
You
you
had it pretty
didn't
good.
under yeah, and you didn't see what you had.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I think work can be definitely a drug. That
Hmm.
rush that you talk about of the winning, the progress, overcoming obstacles, fixing things. It's a very satisfying career path, but to be able to recognize where you get to a point where it's not satisfying anymore and potentially quite damaging to, our health, our time, or the
Yeah.
burnout is real, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, and I mean that was part of it. I didn't have a partner. It was something I built on my own, obviously with a lot of great people as employees, but it was still that's different. Um, and I didn't feel for the whole time that I ran it that that was any way for me to take a break.
Yeah.
And so I had to work through burnout multiple times,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I think ultimately led me to where, that's what led me to this position, this point of saying, there was nothing that happened that made me happy.
Mm. But it was successful. And what would you say was because, why was it successful? Obviously, yourself.
I think, yeah, I think there's a combination of factors. It was I had the right experience when I started it. I had been working in this field for a long time, and I took gradual steps to this point, even though
Hmm.
I thought I knew more than I did, but did know quite a bit. We were very lucky with timing. I moved to San Francisco in 2014,
Hmm.
and that time was just an amazing time to have an agency, digital agency, especially in San Francisco. Um, got really lucky with some of the first clients we got really lucky with some of the first people we hired, and then it was just a grind. It was getting up every day and deciding that the work came first, the quality of the work came first, and making decisions that were sometimes really hard to accomplish whatever the goal of the project was.
So you're back in Iceland, and now it's a case of, well, there are some aspects of that which I really enjoyed, but let's now try and carve a career out for myself that works for these other things as well, like family and spare
Yes,
time.
yeah,
And
yeah. I want to make sure that there's more stability, that it's built for the long term, and that we have um, that I have a way to do this that doesn't completely engulf my life.
is it nice being home? Was it an easy decision going home?
But when we moved back in COVID, and me and my wife, we had talked about this for a long time. That we never saw. We talked about this again and again. That we couldn't see that any way where we would move back. Um, and then COVID came, and we were in San Francisco, and it was a very, very challenging time. Meanwhile, Iceland was going through obviously COVID as well, but it was handled very differently here, um, partly because it's an island,
Mm.
and we were able to go back, and it was just much more free. And so as COVID extended, we decided, okay, well, we're going to stay here, and then the kids went to school, and sort of a year or two later, it's a new routine.
Yeah, that freedom, gosh. We certainly handled things a lot differently in the UK.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, it was really tough. It was. I was in San Francisco. I was. We basically spent, I think, 3 months inside an apartment,
Oh, gosh. With no balcony.
no balcony.
Oh, that's, yeah. It wasn't good on our mental health, was it?
No, I think it was. I mean, I think I don't know. I don't know what could have been done differently, but it just it definitely felt like um, we we suffered a lot more than we realized.
Mm. I think it's one of those things that we're all just quite happy to forget and move on from. And it's like,
Yeah.
everyone's like rolls their eyes and like, the C word.
Hmm. Yeah. It is. It is this thing that happened that nobody talks about.
Yeah. Strange old time. What do you think of Twitter's new boss? Into the frying pan.
Um, I think Twitter was never able to live up to its full potential as a
Mm.
company. Um, it 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 started off with a big bang, and I think it was such a simple idea that really caught on, and it was um, in many ways great. And, there's pros and cons to social media and Twitter, um, and I think it was kind of this beast that nobody really knew what to do with, and and then it was taken off the market by someone that had a different vision for it, and I think he has executed on his vision for it. I think he he has done what he wanted to do with it.
That's
Um,
another name we don't mention.
yeah, I mean, it's just people have different priorities,
Yeah.
and people see things differently. I think in general that's healthy. You don't have to agree with everyone.
No, exactly. Yeah. I'm not suggesting I think one way or the other. It's just interesting to get people's takes.
Yeah.
I'm very open minded. There's a nuance, isn't there? That's the irony of talking about Twitter. It's
Yes.
that
I mean,
it
it's this place where people, some certain kinds of people go to talk about issues, and it's a bit of a battleground, and I think that's um, what it's always been, and I think it's maybe become that even more, but I think that's intentional.
yeah, it's caused a lot of polarization. They always regretted Jack Dorsey always regretted the retweet, didn't he? The retweet button.
Yeah, I think, I mean, with looking back on any decisions you make as a leader in a company, I think you can always find things to regret.
Yes. And now Blue Sky. Have you got an account on Blue Sky?
I do have an account on Blue Sky. I'm not very active, and it's more than anything, it's just fatigue with there's so many platforms. It's impossible to really, you know, just having one is enough, more than enough. And so, yeah, I picked mine a while ago, and it's where I'm staying.
Good. I would love to know if you think social media is on the way out or whether you think it's changing.
I think social media is not on the way out. I think there's always going to be new challengers. There's always going to be something new that comes along. But I think as a model, it um, it financially is extremely successful, and it captures people's hearts and minds and time in a way that very few things do. And so I think it is, I don't see it going away. I'm not sure if it's a good thing or not. I think in many ways it's bad, but it's definitely staying.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's more message boards and private communities springing up though, and is that
Yeah.
something you would you be tempted to start a message board and are you part of any communities online?
Not formal, more informal communities. I think but again, it's the same thing. It's just there's limited time that you have, and I've invested a fair amount of time into one platform, and um, I understand the rules of that platform, and learning new rules and new norms. It's I'm an old man.
You're not an old man. If you're an old man, I'm an old woman. Because I know how old you are, and you know how old I am. So come on, I'm just coming out of my teenage years.
Yeah, well, I'm too old. I'm an old dog. I'm too old to learn the tricks.
Our generation is the one that never grew up. Apparently, we're going to live forever.
That's Oasis.
I know. Just sprinkling in some because I know you're a big fan. I'm just keeping you happy. Do you
But I think
enjoy?
that's, yeah, but I do, just commenting, I do think that's true. I think I definitely don't feel like I'm a grown up. Um, I just feel old.
Yeah. Well, you've been through it, haven't you? You've been through it. It's not been easy for you. Was there ever a moment in your life where you thought maybe this isn't who I want to be?
Multiple times, yeah, and that's why I've keep switching who I am. Um, and I think that's um, been a way for me to keep sane because I um, I've had the ability to switch careers multiple times, and it's been really rewarding to try new things and with that also become a different person in my personal life.
Yeah. Do you think that we're entering the age of the creative generalist, or do you think that's all utter bollocks?
Um, I I don't know. I think there's room for both. I think there is room for a generalist, and I definitely consider myself a generalist. But I really enjoy working with a specialist, and I think a good team has a good mix of both. A generalist usually is someone who is able to see, know enough about certain things to maybe build, sort of collect the wisdom of the team together, and but then you need really specialized, really smart people to, if you want to do something that's excellent. You need people that have spent a lot of time thinking about something, and I don't have the patience for it, so it's very good that someone else does.
Yeah. How do you find smart people?
Um, I spend a lot of time talking to people. I spend a lot of time um, reading um, books and reading different things and when I find someone that I'm fascinated by, I often just reach out to them and uh, sometimes I respond.
Mm, sometimes.
Hmm.
It's always the case, at least you try.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying.
Do you ever feel like your situation has held you back? Or do you feel like that's just like mostly people are held back by their own kind of lack of confidence, perhaps, or lack of
Um,
trying?
I think in some ways, yes. I can definitely make a case for me using a wheelchair is limiting, but I think we're all limited, and I think what I decided a long time ago is not to use it as an excuse, and to make decisions that I want to make, and then figure out how to to make them come true.
Mm.
And I think the limits that I see for most people, I'm not saying that I'm not one of them, but I definitely try and push against it. The limits I see in most people are mental. I think we all have these mental blocks that are um, stopping us from doing or becoming the people that we want to become.
Who do you want to become?
It changes. It definitely changes. It is something. Like I said before, I've kind of gone through my bucket list, and I've I've ticked off pretty much everything, uh, and I'm right now in the process of figuring out, what is the next thing I want to become.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you've done all your bucket list, you just need a new one.
I definitely need a new one. I need some things, and there, yeah. Do you have any thoughts, any ideas?
Well, you're going to go and see Oasis at Wembley, so
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
that's definitely,
That's.
maybe Glastonbury.
I've been to Glastonbury. Yeah, I'd love to go again. But yeah, I'm
I'd,
open. If anyone listening has thoughts and ideas, definitely send them to me.
I'd recommend a bungee jump, but it hurt my neck.
Is that the thing that actually caused your injury?
No, that's another injury. That's one I've
Okay.
lived with since I was 22.
Yeah, I went skydiving. I was always very afraid of heights, and that worked. I stopped being afraid of heights after that.
Brave. I don't think I could do that.
It was yeah. I don't think I could do it now, but it worked at the time to sort of overcome this thing that it was I felt was holding me back.
Yeah, maybe learn a new instrument.
Yeah, the only problem is my hands. So I use a wheelchair, and it's because I have muscle dystrophy, and it's reached my hands, you know,
I'm
and
sorry.
it is becoming more challenging to do things with my hands. But there are things that I'm learning now that require less manual input
Hmm.
to make sounds, and that's been really enjoyable.
Yeah, you could get one of those machines where you could sample your own
Hmm.
voice and play around with that. That would be interesting.
I have one of those. Yeah, it's been very fun.
Great stuff. Great. Well, I hope you find more things to add to that list. I'll have a think myself and send you an email. Who's this friend that you've known since you were 5 who you're going to go and see Oasis with?
So yeah, we met at school. He is a chef now, and he is just this. I'm very lucky in that most of my friends, obviously I've made some new ones, but I have a lot of friends since I was one of my friends I met when I was 2, and then there's a few that I met when I was 6 when I started school, and then when I went to another school I was 13, and that's sort of the my core friend group.
That's lovely. Not many people have that.
Yeah, I know. It's I think it's rare, and I think it's precious, and I try and really work on those relationships because those people are not, a lot of them are very unlikely friendships,
Mm,
because you know it's 40 years ago, plus years ago, and so we've all gone in different directions in terms of our careers and our lives. But I think having that something to ground you is really, really precious.
absolutely. No matter where life takes you, you've always got that crew that have known you since you were, in
Yeah.
nappies.
Yes.
And they know your bullshit and they're not going to lie to you and they're going to tell you what's what and you're going to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good group.
Well, apart from those lovely people, what other bit of kindness have you experienced recently that really made you, take a step back?
Um, I um, there is um, there's a lot to choose from, but I think the biggest one. My wife is an activist, and spends a lot of time, pushing for a better world, and I am constantly inspired by her and her work. And she spends a lot of time with refugees and people from countries that are um, war torn, and she inspires me every day to push on to do better.
That's amazing. She sounds wonderful. You're
She
very
is,
lucky.
yeah.
You're surrounded by a lot of love and friendship. It's good. It's good. What advice would you give to your younger self, Hallie?
Um, I think be less afraid. I was very afraid as a kid. I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid of loneliness. I was afraid of um, of trying really. And I was just, yeah, I was afraid. And so I wish I wish I could spend more time with that kid and help him understand that it's going to work out pretty well.
That's powerful. It really is. That's what I try and say to my little younger self. It's going to be okay, kid. Because
Hmm.
we are our own worst enemies, aren't we? Because of things that have happened to us in the past.
Yeah, and I think, I do believe we all have different versions of ourselves living inside, and so, spending time talking to your younger self is important.
What's a good day look like to you now then, Hallie?
Um, it depends. It can be sometimes a good day is just spent. I really like listening to audiobooks. And if I have a free day, like this week, yesterday, I had a lot of free time, and I was able to listen to almost a full book.
Great.
Um, and as I was doing that, I was playing chess, and so that was a pretty nice day.
That sounds idyllic.
Yeah,
It sounds great. And concentrating on two very intense things, though, you know?
yeah. But yeah, but it can also be just a fun project to work on, or spending time with my kids or my wife, or going to see Oasis, or playing video games, or I think there's if you seek out uh, joy, there's a lot of it around.
Thanks again to James Cropper for sponsoring this season of the Creative Boom podcast. Remember, its colour source range gives designers direct access to 50 beautiful shades and a choice of textures, all crafted in the Lake District and delivered straight to your door. Explore the collection and bring your next project to life at paperandpackaging.jamescropper.com. And we're going to have some fun now, Harley. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
I always
Let's
say this to
go.
my guests when we do the spark, and they're always slightly terrified. We start off by asking you a few questions, just to sort of get to know you a bit more as a person, and then we finish with a question from the previous guest,
Mm-hmm.
and then you will ask a question to the next guest. So that's quite a nice little chain thing that we've got
Yeah,
going on.
I
Okay,
really like
so
that.
let's crack on. When
Mm-hmm.
did you last feel completely out of your depth, and what happened next?
Um, so I built a restaurant, um, and it had been something that I had wanted to do for a long time. I'd always wanted to create a space, and it was dedicated to my mother, who I lost when I was young, and it was a really ambitious project. And then um, as as we were building it, I kind of realized that I had made a mistake. We were really far. I really liked enjoying it. I really liked creating the concept, but the building process was really tough. And then actually running a restaurant is a nightmare. Um, and um, I pushed on and I pushed on for longer than I should. And it was one of those things because I've always felt that I sort of defined myself by not giving up, and so I just kept going, even though I wasn't enjoying it, even though I wasn't able to spend the time that it needed for me to make it work. Um, and so it was ultimately I gave up and I closed, and it was a huge relief and a huge sort of lesson for me in learning about myself and realizing, um, you know, there's nothing wrong with things not working out. If you don't like what you're doing, you can always quit.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't say it was giving up. I'd say it's just recognizing it wasn't for you.
Yeah, or, or wherever you called it, and it turned, eventually it turned into a blessing. There was I still own the space, and there was this wonderful chef who came in, and he wanted to build his own restaurant, and I was able to provide that for him, and he's a Michelin star chef, and he built this wonderful place, and that now is across the street from me, and I can go there every time I want.
That's amazing. Is there always a seat for you at the table, overlooking
I
the
don't have
street?
I don't have I don't have a seat for me, but they've never turned me down.
That's great. That's lovely. Nothing like having a nice restaurant on your doorstep.
Hmm.
This season of the Creative Beam podcast is sponsored by James Cropper, and its new colour source range is a game changer for designers. It gives you direct access to 50 carefully created shades with a choice of weights and textures straight from their Lake District mill. Beautiful, sustainable coloured paper made in Britain by experts who live and breathe colour. What's a hill you die on when it comes to creative work?
Um, well, Dion is a stretch, but in sort of the metaphor of it, I would definitely say that I think that if you're making something, should make people feel some way. I don't think it's enough to make something that works. I think it's very important when you're whatever it is that you're making that you start with or include at least in your process how you want someone to feel when they use it.
Mm.
And um, that's something I try and put into everything I do is, definitely trying to figure out how it works, but then maybe even more importantly is how does it make you feel?
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do though.
It is a hard thing to do, but it's also, I think, once you get into the habit of that, and once you have that sort of solidified, I think it actually makes things a lot easier because it makes it easier for you to make decisions along the way because you know what you're trying to accomplish.
Fair enough. Sounds good. I'm just now sat here thinking, how can I make that happen with
Hmm.
Creative Boom and all the other things I do? Yeah, it's not an easy thing to get to, but having some
I mean,
passion.
I think you probably have it. You just maybe you don't. It's not as top of mind. But having seen some of the things you do, I think I'm pretty sure it's there. You maybe haven't articulated it.
Mm, yes, maybe I need to sort of lean into it a bit more. This is what AI told me the other day, Harley. It said there was a prompt going around that got you to put it in and say, what am I not doing enough of? Where am I
Yeah.
going wrong? And it was brutal.
Was it fair?
It was very fair, actually. It said that I hadn't quite discovered yet the um, this thing that I had, and I wasn't exploiting it enough. I wasn't realizing its power,
Mm.
and I had
Yeah.
to bring myself to the forefront a bit more and be a bit more outspoken and not be so polished and professional, which is kind of my journalism background creeping in. Just be a bit more kind of feisty and
Yeah.
opinionated and, screw it if I don't bring in everyone along with me, which is hugely putting myself out of my comfort zone. Because I've
Yeah.
always been, it's not about me, it's about who I'm
Yeah.
interviewing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the journalist in me.
Are you a
It's
people pleaser?
I'm a girl, come on, of course I am. But it's
Yeah.
been left behind a little bit as I get older,
Yeah.
starting to get going through the angry perimenopause phase
Hmm.
where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I trying to like
Right.
be everybody's friend?
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah. I
mean?
think
So
that's an important lesson that, sometimes you have to let some people down to to be who you are.
I'm not quite ready to embrace that yet, Harley.
Well, let's work on it.
Gosh, is this good? Should we do a weekly check-in? Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. We all have our little internal battles. So what is a small ritual or habit that makes your day better?
Um, I try and meditate twice a day, um, and it's surprisingly hard. It's very easy to waste time, and sometimes I feel like I have a lot of time, and then, but finding those 20 minutes, because I try and do 20 minutes twice a day, um, is is it's really hard. But when I do it, it really makes my life and my day better.
Mm.
And so I try to do it once in the morning and then once before I go to bed. And it just calms me down and it makes me so much more resilient for whatever comes my way through the day.
Do you have any tricks, tips for meditating?
I do a sort of sort of version. Mostly, it's sort of a transcendental meditation. So, if anyone wants to read up about that, it's a very simple technique, um, um, and you can do it anywhere. So it's not complicated. You don't need an app. There's nothing really you need except just maybe a quiet room.
Mm. I do the classic imagine a train going in one ear and out the other with lots of
Hmm.
compartments carrying all of my thoughts. And it doesn't work most of the time, but I'll keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't definitely doesn't work all the time for me either. It's there's days even when I do it or weeks when I feel like I'm not getting there, but then there's weeks when it clicks and I feel at peace.
Yeah, I have that with when I do the ironing.
Mm.
You get that kind of focus,
Yeah,
and my mind just goes blank, and I realise actually after doing the ironing, I feel amazing. Does that count?
whatever works. Yeah.
It's whatever works. Okay. What's the most impulsive thing you've ever done while travelling?
Um, I went to Iran once,
Mm.
and we landed in Tehran, and the plan was to stay in Tehran for I think 2 weeks, um, which was a big enough leave. But we realized very quickly, I think after a night or two, that it wasn't. It's a very very hectic city, and it wasn't what I didn't want to spend more time there. So the impulsive thing is we went and found some guy somehow, um, who drove us across country, and he was sort of he went we went through Shiraz and Isfahan and went to Persepolis, and it was just this slightly um, it was just a very very enjoyable trip, and it was all spur of the moment, and everything we did during that I think week or 10 days was just winging it in a city that or in a country where we didn't speak the language, and there was nobody. We hardly saw any tourists, and it was amazing.
You feel alive.
Definitely, yeah, and
Mm.
and you realize I think with with places like Iran that have been in the news for a long time, um, and sometimes I think you can start to imagine that the people there are somehow different than people elsewhere, but obviously you
Sure.
find that they're the same. That it's the same. They have the same aspirations, they have the same needs, they have the same longings, and there's kindness everywhere.
Mm. There is kindness everywhere. Thank you for linking it back to the theme of our chat. People are not defined by their leaders. Definitely.
No, definitely not.
It's a good reminder. What's something you'd love to believe in, even if it's not real?
Um,
Is it Santa Claus?
um, it, well, I would like to, yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that in a lot of stories that are nice. Uh, but for me, it's even more fundamental. I think because obviously, real is different to people. But my mom was believed in sort of a benevolent God, and I think it gave her a lot of comfort. And I did as a kid, and it definitely helped me through hard times. But I don't have that faith anymore. I don't believe in a higher power in
Mm.
that sense. Um, but I really envy people who do. I think it is something that can help people through a lot of hard times, and not having that um, can be extremely hard.
Mm. Whereas I think, yeah, I grew up Catholic, and I agree with you. I found comfort in it as a child, but now I'm not a non-believer.
Right.
And I find comfort in the fact that when this is, I mean, I may be completely wrong, but when it's the end, it's just dark and
Hmm.
peace. And that's the
Right.
way I see it. And so, whilst we're here, even though there can be a lot of suffering, we've got to make the most of it, because it's so incredibly crazy that we're even here in the first place, you know.
Yeah, definitely, and that's the side of it that I look at as well. But when things are hard, it would be nice to um,
You can
believe that
believe.
there was.
You can believe. You can go back to church.
I I can't.
No, I
It's
agree.
it doesn't. Yeah, I can't. It's a switch that I can't switch on
No.
logically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah. Um, if your inner critic had a voice and a name, this is an interesting one. What would it sound like?
Yeah, what would it sound like? I think I should have looked at these questions before, but I think when I picked them,
You did
um,
choose them.
I did choose them, and now I'm wondering why did I choose that one?
Yeah, it's
Um,
interesting.
if my inner critic had a name, I think it would just. I mean, it is. It's sort of an amalgam. It's because I was a kid who had a disability. I started using a wheelchair when I was 25, and I had a walk that was different to other people. And so I was always afraid of someone sort of pointing at me or laughing at me or making fun of me. So there's definitely these voices in my head that always, as I'm, uh, even still now with, being almost 50 and having done and accomplished a fair amount of things, there's still these voices in my head that are, as I'm working on something that are just pointing at it and sort of saying like that's not good enough.
Mm.
Um, and so yeah, I'm not sure what name I would give it, but it has um, it's sort of these shrieks in my head that I can sort of almost hear.
I hope it's not Cartman.
I No, it's not Cartman. I think Cartman is quite funny, although he can be a bit of a dick.
Yeah. We all have the voices. We should, just I talk back to mine and say, "Shut
Okay.
up. Shut up. You know nothing." Well, you're going to have a dinner now,
Hmm.
and you're welcome to invite any guest, dead or
Hmm.
alive. Who would that be? Dream dinner guest.
Yeah, well, again, I should have prepped answers for these. Uh, who
Cartman.
would um, I, yeah, who would I think, um,
I hate
Nick
these sorts
Cave,
of questions. Oh,
Nick
Nick
Cave
Cave.
would definitely be on the list. Um, I think he is, I mean, apart from his music, I've just really enjoyed, he has gone through a lot of personal loss. He lost two of his sons, and he's turned um, that sadness and pain into something really beautiful. He writes and has a community of people who have lost. And I went to see him. He came to Iceland last year, and I went to see him, and just the tranquility of him. I feel like there was endless wisdom flowing out of him. So I think I would want to spend more time with him.
That's lovely. And I've never had a Nick Cave as a dream dinner guest. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, he would be nice to see.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
think so. I think he's sort of a no bullshit but still kind person.
Hmm. Well, this is the thing with loss and with hardship. It kind of give you that gift of empathy and compassion and kindness.
Yeah, yeah.
Because otherwise, the alternative's not so good. Okay, I need you to open up your phone and tell
hmm
me what's the most recent photo on there.
What is the most recent photo on my phone? Hold on.
And I hope it's not something you only send to your wife.
No, actually, it's a screenshot of a tweet that I sent to a friend of mine
Oh,
um, last night. He is a musician. He makes a lot of electronic music, and it's a nun as playing a synth,
right.
and the caption is "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned."
Humour is a wonderful a gift, isn't it?
Yeah,
Do you laugh a lot? I can imagine you do.
yeah, I try to. Yeah.
You've started a lovely podcast as well, haven't you, recently? Walk with me.
Yeah, it's called Let's Walk, and it's I recently got a new wheelchair, and it has made my life very different to what it was before. I'm much more mobile, but it's also it is electric, and I can raise myself to be at eye level with people.
Yeah.
And so I started doing long walks with creative people, and it has been just really enjoyable. I started in Iceland, and just recently launched it in English as well.
That's fantastic. An all-terrain vehicle.
hmm
I know the
Yeah.
one. It's when my friend Paul got his,
hmm
he wanted us to get a fog machine so that he could, when he raised it up, he could just sort of go like that, like a god.
That's a good idea. I'll take that.
Oh, bless him. Yeah, he is funny. Um, okay, so now we have a question from our previous guest, who was Paul Benny,
hmm
um, co-founder of the magazine Jockey Slut and now Disco Pogo. And he was also one of the founders of Bugged Out, which is a very popular club night here in the UK. He wanted to know, what was the first book that you read that you really felt changed you as a person?
Yeah. I don't have to think about this one because it's a very clear memory. It was my dad read it to me, and he would read to me before I went to sleep, and this was the first book I remember just really um, catching me. It was a book called The Lionheart Brothers. I think it's called in English. It's by Astrid Lindgren. It's a tale of two brothers who uh, this is not a spoiler because they die in kind of the beginning, and they go to another place and they have to overcome a lot of obstacles. And um, I think it's a pretty transform. I've noticed this when I'm reading or watching a movie or something or seeing it in real life is that the thing that always brings tears to my eyes is kindness. And I think it maybe even started with that book because his there's a younger brother who is sick and is going through a lot, and then there's an older brother who is sort of the protector of the two, and he just helps and guides him through all these different things, and the younger brother feels like a hero by the end, and it just, yeah, it's a beautiful little book. It's a children's book, but I think um, it's really, really powerful.
It sounds great. I might have to give that a listen or a read. Now you have to think of a question for our next guest, Halli.
Yeah, it's a question I actually ask people a lot. It's a little bit morbid, but I ask people how they want to die. Um, and I think it's important for us to remember that we are going to die, and I think it's good to have an ideal death in mind. Um, I think about why that's how we want to die, and it often leads to people sort of wondering, what are the last things they would do before they die, and which then um, maybe changes the way they live their life now. They is the life you're living now the one you want to have lived when you're on your last breath?
It's a very powerful question, and I'll put it to our next guest. Is this something that you have faced yourself on many occasions?
I've never come close to death that I'm aware of. Well, I'm sure we all come close to death multiple times a day, but I've never been aware of it.
Oh, I only
But
meant, sorry, have you pondered the question?
I have definitely pondered the question, yes. Um, and yeah, I've thought about it a lot. And I think it's informed how I live my life because I've thought about those last moments a lot, and I want to make sure that, to our earlier conversation I don't believe in a second life. I don't believe that there's more after this. So I want to make sure that by the end that I've done everything that I wanted to do in the way that I intended to do it.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Halli. It's been really lovely getting to know you.
Thank you so much, Katy.
Thank you to Halli Thorleifsson for such a generous and honest conversation. There's a lot that stayed with me, not least that moment where he shared what he'd say to his younger self to reassure him that things would work out, and the quiet truth running through everything he said, that we only really get one life, and it's how we choose to show up every single day that shapes what it becomes. Whether it's choosing peace over anger, purpose over burnout, or kindness over ego, there's power in those small, consistent decisions. Yeah, it's not easy, but we do have that power to decide. So wherever you're listening from, I hope this one gave you something to think about, maybe even something to carry with you today. Thanks for watching. If you love this one, hit subscribe and join our creative community. More inspiration coming next time.